Hey there, Ryan Reynolds here. It's a new year, and you know what that means. No, not the diet. Resolutions. A way for us all to try and do a little bit better than we did last year. And my resolution, unlike big wireless, is to not be a raging and raise the price of wireless on you every chance I get. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited. See mintmobile.com for details.
Why does Tess Daily get work when other people exist?
Answer me this, answer me this.
Can you please stop me tweeting when I am pissed?
Answer me this, answer me this. Helen and Dolly tweet when they're pissed.
Waka waka. That's right, it's always good to start with a joke.
Oh, I thought we were doing the all noise effect Answer Me This episode.
We're looking for a high concept. We did think once we'd do a musical episode.
I still want to do that. Maybe that would be our last ever episode.
It's a lot of work, isn't it?
Last ever episode. That's the way we see off our listeners.
But anyway, it is always good to start with a joke, and here is a joke.
Okay.
It's from Archie, who says, I heard a joke the other day and didn't find it at all funny, but everyone else did. At this point, I'd usually ask you if you were watching Justin Lee Collins,
Yay!
But he's had a rough few weeks, so I won't. So, Helen, answer me this. Why is this joke funny? Ready? 2 nuns are in the bath. It's funny so far.
That's a good start.
It's a good start. Yeah. Strong. One says to the other, where's the soap? The other says, yes, it does rather, doesn't it? Helen, answer me this. Why is this funny?
I can't answer that. Why is it funny?
Where's the soap? I think it's a pun on where's as in WHERE''S and where's as in where's down the soap.
That is tenuous.
Yeah.
What, she's wearing it down because she's shoved it up herself?
Relentless funny scrubbing.
Have you not heard this joke?
No.
This is a really old
It's a
wanking
playground joke.
This is a classic wanking joke.
It's a crap joke, though.
If she's wanking... I mean, I know she's a nun, so she's barely going to talk about it at all, especially in front of other nuns.
I don't know what goes on in convents.
Nonetheless.
If
it's... Hey! Oh, it is good to start with a joke. Nonetheless, if it's self-pleasure, why do that when you've got someone else in the bath with you? Why not pleasure each other with your toes?
Because then you'd have no one to say the funny line to.
Oh, I see, yes, of course, because that's the main point about masturbation, isn't it? To come up with a funny line afterwards.
Yeah, I've always thought so.
But also in this context, one of the nuns might be genuinely thinking, I can't find the soap, and the other nun might have misinterpreted and thought, I sometimes when I'm alone in the bath masturbate. Maybe this nun is masturbating now, and I hadn't noticed, but because she's a very subtle masturbator.
Of course, it's a classic misunderstanding, isn't it?
I wonder whether nunneries really go in for baths, or whether they go in for a less indulgent form of washing.
Yes, absolutely.
What if the nuns have got liquid soap?
Yeah.
Then this joke really doesn't work.
It absolutely doesn't. Here's a question from Johnny, who says, my wife insists on buying a certain brand of washing detergent gel because of the smell. But she, his wife, buys a different brand fabric softener which has a different fragrance.
What is she playing at? Divorce her!
I once bought an alternative brand detergent and got into a whole heap of trouble.
Were you doing that to spice up the marriage? Like tonight, dear, I thought we'd try something different. Meadow fresh.
I've tried to convince her, says Johnny, that it does not make any difference how the detergent smells.
It's not about that.
Because the softener will give our garments their final fragrance. And as long as that is the smell she likes, it's irrelevant.
I can't believe we've talked about fabric softener twice on this podcast this year. That's too many times.
So, Helen, answer me this. Does it make any difference which fragrance detergent you choose if you were using an alternatively fragrant softener? Mm-hmm. If not, why do they have different fragrances for washing detergent when the smell will be masked by the softener, thus negating the need for a fragrance detergent?
Because not everyone uses softener.
Indeed.
Some people like their clothes rough. Some people, as we've said before, don't want softener on their towels because it inhibits absorption.
3 words, first world problem.
4 words, don't give a shit.
I mean, look, you can. Oh God, you're right. But you can start with a sort of blander initial detergent if you're going to use a softener with a fragrance that you like, and you're right that the vice versa also applies. If you've got a nice smelling fragrant detergent, then you don't need a softener with a smell to it at all. That's all common sense. The point, Johnny, is that not everyone's like you. Some people are using one or the other.
Yeah, and also, Johnny, 2 points. 1, choose your battles. If you're going to argue with your wife, make it count.
Yeah.
let it be that she'll allow you to sleep over at your friend's house 2 nights a week. Not this.
Yeah.
Second point, maybe she likes the particular combination made by the 2 fragrances being commingled.
Yes, that's possible, isn't it? We shouldn't rule it out.
Maybe she likes Ocean Waves and Freesia, but no one company makes the combination of fragrances she enjoys so much.
Yeah.
I think you particularly got to worry when you see her perforating one of the little gel sachets and rubbing it on her neck and wrists.
Hello, this is Luke from Tunbridge Wells.
I'm Nadine from Somerset.
Hello, the answer is this. Would Martin like to play at our wedding next October?
Oh, Martin, a rare treat, a job offer,
Now,
a gig for the band.
Wait, Martin. Bear in mind, we can represent you in this conversation, so don't say anything you regret later. Don't put all your cards on the table.
We're taking 15% now, aren't we?
Don't go for a straight yes or no, perhaps. Think about it, but suggest which way you might swing, but leave it open to interpretation that money could be exchanged.
It's also influenced by length of set, distance to wedding.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Decency of
What other
snacks.
work have you sacrificed, Martin, when you to go to this wedding when you could be doing other things?
I'm very grateful for this opportunity.
That's a
to
great
represent
first
me.
answer. Yes, good.
Yeah,
Grateful.
but I'm a serious recording artist. The Saying of the Ladies are not available for weddings and bar mitzvahs.
However, well, you say that, but you have performed at several weddings before.
I have made exceptions.
You did Magic Dance from Labyrinth at
Oh my
weddings.
God! It's almost worth me getting married so I can have Martin do that.
I'm a serious folky. And I remember at one wedding of Mary and Alistair, who listened to this podcast. Mary had really sweetly requested that Martin play a particular song for Alistair when he came into the reception from the photos.
Was this the Jose Gonzalez one that Martin was practicing for ages?
Yeah.
It's not a straightforward song.
No, it's a lot of finger picking.
Quite a challenge. I think I did a passable job at it.
So he was supposed to be entertaining the people inside the marquee whilst the photos were happening outside. But then when Alistair was coming in, he was supposed to strike into this song as a lovely surprise.
Mm-hmm.
And so about 4 times people were like, he's coming in now, he's coming in, and Martin would play it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether Alistair ever got to hear that song.
A similar thing happened actually at my friend Gillian's wedding. I was the best man.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they did this. But they were like, we don't want to have a first wedding dance be officially announced because that's cheesy, right? That was their decision.
It can be embarrassing. You don't like being everyone staring at you.
Exactly. And they didn't want to make a big deal out of it.
Because it's only their wedding day. I mean, no biggie.
But they had actually gone to dancing lessons and choreographed a dance.
Oh, this just a trifle. We dance like this all the time.
What they thought would be fun is that the DJ would play a particular song, which would be the trigger song for them, because they were kind of at this point in the meal going around and schmoozing with people on different tables.
Yeah.
When the DJ plays this particular trigger song, that means they should drift over during the song to the dance floor, so that then when they just happen to be near the dance floor, the next song would start and then they'd start dancing.
Is anyone going to notice?
Well, this is what I was worried about, Ellen. And I was like, well, that's fine, but, I should probably make some kind of announcement, otherwise people carry on talking. So they were like, yeah, good idea. We'll start dancing, and then after when it gets to the chorus or whatever, you say, ladies and gentlemen, join the bride and groom or whatever.
Yeah.
So I was like, fine. So anyway, the whole way through dinner, I'm like shaking myself, waiting for this song to go on. Like, I can't relax because I don't know when the song's going to be. And the DJ was like, he really couldn't handle it. Like, he kept coming up to me going, right, 3 songs are going to play the song. 2 songs are going to play the song. Okay, fine, okay. I'm trying to eat.
So much pressure.
So anyway, he played the song, and of course they just completely ignored it because they were like talking to everyone around the room.
They were oblivious to the trigger.
Oblivious to the idea the trigger song had been on.
What was the trigger song?
It was something classic, like an Ella Fitzgerald or something.
Because maybe every time they hear that song now, they'll be like, I'm sure we've got to be somewhere.
Like some sort of hypnotic reaction.
They'll run to the front of the cafe and just start jiving.
If you got a question, email your question to answer me this podcast at googlemail.com. Answer me this podcast at googlemail.com. It's great.
So, retrospectors, what historical events are we ticking off on this week's run of Today in History?
On Monday, the anniversary of the day Ozzy Osbourne and a bat came face to face on stage.
On Tuesday, we go back to the future with a potted history of the DeLorean.
On Wednesday, why is the Pope guarded by those guys in floofy hats?
On Thursday, how the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame ended up in Cleveland.
And on Friday, was Henry VIII really an asshole, or was it just the result of a jousting accident?
We discuss this and more on Today in History with the Retrospectors. 10 minutes each weekday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Here's a question from Georgia from Derbyshire, who is 15, and yet her question is this. Ollie, answer me this. What is the oldest bottle of wine in the world? Who does it belong to, and can you buy it? Well, she can't until she's 18.
That's right, yes. And she can't anyway unless she's a billionaire.
Oh.
Because it belongs to the Pfalz Historical Museum.
Pfalz?
If you're from Pfalz, I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong, it's in Germany, so maybe it's Pfalz. Anyway, it's there. It's a 1650-year-old bottle, so it's from the Roman era.
Isn't it just going to be a tiny bit of dreg in the bottom now?
It looks rank. It was buried with a Roman nobleman in
delicious.
350 AD.
Oh, why didn't you have the sandwich that was buried with it?
Sealed with wax.
Yep.
And it contains what's described as a white liquid. So they reckon it's white wine.
They're hoping, aren't they, that it's not his seed. That would be a good film, wouldn't it? They dig up the Roman's tomb and there's a bottle of his semen that is miraculously preserved, and then all these, little centurions
and then
are
you get Roman
reproduced.
descendants, yeah.
Yeah, but in the 21st century...
Like Jurassic Park, but with Romans.
Or California Man.
Obviously there may be others out there, but that's probably the oldest.
But there surely is a time after which a valuable
it's not drinkable.
Old wine has passed its peak, and
yes,
therefore
exactly.
its value plummets.
Well, this is the thing. So that's valuable because of its age, not because of anything like its taste or quality.
Valuable like a shard of pottery of the same period.
Exactly, yeah. So if we were to take the question in the spirit in which it's intended...
Spirit.
They're nice. I think she means what's the oldest nice bottle of wine in the world?
Still potable.
The most expensive went for £109,000
Jesus.
last year in the recession. And that is only from 2004. It's an Australian Cabernet Sauvignon... which is from the Penfolds 2004 Block 42. It's a descendant of the oldest continuously producing Cabernet Sauvignon vine ever.
Wow.
So it was exported to Australia from France, and it's still there now, and it still produces a tiny amount of wine every year. But the point is, since the most valuable is only from 2004, if it's any older than like 1950, it's probably not worth very much, because then it starts going rank.
Oh, I disagree there. I bet there are bottles of some wine, probably quite strong wine or maybe brandy from the 1800s.
Brandy's a bit different. I've had a wine that's about 80 years old and it was horrible. It'd gone off, and the thing is, it's a shame because people buy it for people for their birthdays.
Or investment.
But when people do that thing of like, oh, Granny, you're 100, here's a bottle of champagne that was created on the day you were born.
Maybe that will kill you off.
It will probably kill you off because it's going to be disgusting.
Yeah. That's never happened to me, though. No one's ever given me a 22nd of April 1980 vintage.
Hey, now I know what to not get you for your birthday.
Hey, I've got this can of V8 that's way past its sell-by date.
We've got another question about alcohol, sort of.
Great.
It's from Sophie and Eric from Tallahassee, who say, Helen, answer me this. Why is a wet bar called a wet bar? Is it like a wet nurse? Is it for breastfeeders?
They don't serve through optics, it's all through the nips.
Is that one where you swim up to it?
Oh gosh, you've been to a swim-up bar recently, haven't you?
On holiday, yeah.
And I remember before
summer.
you went, you said, I don't think I'm going to be very keen on a swim-up bar. Did you enjoy it?
What I was concerned about is exposing my moobs and getting cold at the same time as drinking.
Can you prop them on the bar?
Well, actually, it was fine because everyone else there was uglier than me. Because we went out of season, so we were the youngest people in the hotel by about 20 years.
Nailed it!
So I didn't feel at all embarrassed. Like, there were people around me that they had testicles down by their ankles. I wasn't bothered at all.
A swingers holiday of a different sort.
So, swim-up bars are awesome. Loved it.
Did you?
Yeah, except but they serve nuts as kind of like, complimentary...
Yeah. But if you've
bar
got
snack.
damp pool fingers...
Yes, and dropping nuts all over the swimming pool, which isn't very nice.
And there's already 20 types of urine in the nut and in the pool.
Yeah.
It's double piss.
And I just, and after every drink, it's a bit weird to then dive down to the bottom and pick up your nuts that you've dropped.
As it were.
Yeah, just felt wrong.
Anyway, a wet bar is a bar... You know how people have them in houses or maybe hotel rooms? And, And a wet bar is one that has running water and a sink, and a dry bar is essentially just a glorified booze cupboard.
Okay. So all home bars, basically, are dry bars, unless you're Hugh Hefner or something.
Yeah, and I suppose there's a bit of a premium on the sink because it means that you can have a flunky washing out your glasses as fast as you can drink.
What happens if you've got proper, ales plumbed in? Is that still a dry bar?
That's not running water, Martin, that is beer.
That's running beer.
What about if you've got blood drips there? Does that count?
What about if I cry?
I mean, does the sink have to be integral to the design, or can it just be next to it?
I'd imagine it has to be within the geography of the bar.
Yeah, the
Otherwise,
geography,
it's a dry bar that's in your downstairs toilet.
Yeah, I see the issue, yeah.
What's your favourite question from our first 3 years that's really made you guffaw?
Tim Curry or Tim Rice?
Disposing of dead mice.
Dave from Smethwick on kosher law.
If you like fact or body talk,
or just a soundtrack for your walk,
we've got stuff to entertain you.
Because for 79 pence each, you can buy our first 3 years episodes.
Or just the good ones, who could blame you?
Go to answermethispodcast.com/classic or iTunes.
And if you don't, you'll get a visit in the night from our band of hired goons.
Hired goons, whack, whack, whack to what they say. If you value your knees. Time to take a question off our phone line, the number for which is
02081235877.
You can Skype answer me this as well if you want to call in from abroad and not pay vicious overseas call fees.
Let's see who's on that number today.
Hello, this is Robin, who is currently in bed on her day off. Helen, Ollie and Martin the Soundman, answer me this. At the end of flamenco dancing, why do the dancers say ole? I ask this because I was in Spain over the summer holidays and I asked lots of Spanish people this, but they didn't actually know. But it obviously seemed to be quite an important part of the flamenco dance. As I said, it's an awful lot.
Like many aspects of flamenco, the ole is hard to explain in a concrete way because it's kind of a primal exclamation of joy and celebration of the music and communication with the musicians and with the audience. But it seemed to be a really very instinctual art form. Obviously a lot of technique involved as well in the dancing and the musicianship, but a lot of it is just really about the feeling inside.
Yeah, okay, fine. Well, that's one explanation. The other thing is, isn't it just like the traditional Spanish way of going that's all, folks?
It's finished!
It's that, isn't it?
I was wondering whether it meant something like the end, but apparently it might be derived from the word Allah, because it was like a call to God about this incredible worshipful thing.
Because there's a big influence of sort of Moorish culture on Spain, wasn't there? Because it was...
You're trying to say Moorish, but it sounded more like Moorish. So yeah, Frank Muir is a massive influence on flamenco.
Here's a question from Ricky, who says, Helen, answer me this. Where does the word Roger, as in the affirmative when speaking to someone on a radio, come from? I mean, what's wrong with saying okay, or I've got it?
Well, it can sound a bit tetchy. It's like, I've got it, okay!
It's also that it's a word that you don't say in any other circumstance unless, unfortunately, you are talking to someone called Roger. But if you're not, then it's clearer than saying yes, because if you say yes, you know, what if there's a lag in the radio and you're saying yes to the previous command?
And it's a bit hissy. And also it's because Roger is from that alphabet, you know, the Sierra Echo whiskey thing. In that alphabet, Roger means R, and that stands for received. So it's like message received.
Imagine if they spelt out all of received using that alphabet.
Roger, Echo,
Charlie, Indigo.
I've got it! I've got it all right! And then Wilco, which is the traditional riposte, is a kind of contraction of the words will comply. So it's not going, yeah, I've heard this alt country band, I think you should check out Wilco. You know the other use of the word Roger as well.
Sex Roger.
Yeah, the sex Roger. So do you suppose that derives from the Roger meaning received? And their partner is the recipient? Or do you think it's because the name Roger used to mean spear?
No, it probably goes from received. I think that's nice. Even if that's not the real origin, I think it's nice. We've got an email now from Colin from Coventry.
Oh, that's like a children's series, isn't it? Colin from Coventry.
Even more so, Helen, because he's a postman.
Yeah!
Which seems perfect for a children's character, and Pat's had the monopoly for a long time. It's time he got shoved out of the way.
Well, especially with the way things are going.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a postman and I find myself walking into a lot of spider webs.
Ooh, I'd imagine that is one of the hazards of being a postman.
That is an occupational hazard I have never considered before.
No, I never thought about that.
No, but when you think about it, you think, oh, they get bad backs, postmen, because they're carrying bags all day. Actually,
and they get bitten by dogs, maybe.
Yeah, sure. But all those are cliches, really, aren't they? And probably things that postmen deal with in the first few months of working. Whereas the spider's webs thing, that's going to probably once a week. There's a spider web in my face.
And it's damp. It's like a ghost hand clutching at my face.
He says, I figure this is because the spiders have been up all night making their webs.
Well, it only takes them an hour, but they do make them in the evenings.
Mm-hmm. And that as I'm up early, I encounter them first.
They've been waiting for you, Colin. They're like, I'm going to get him and I'm going to eat his head.
So Helen, answer me this. Do spiders get pissed off when I destroy their long-laboured traps?
They're probably a bit hacked off that you're not a fly or something that they can eat. But the average spider, an orb spider, which is the one you're most likely to encounter on your forays to people's letterboxes, they...
Or as you might call it, your post run.
Yeah,
I'm just off on a foray to deliver some special delivery packages.
Your job, your career. They use their webs generally for a day, and then they build a new one.
Right,
because
fine.
it doesn't say sticky long enough.
So actually, they're designed to do this.
Sometimes they repair it. If the web's still good,
Yeah, of course, yeah.
then they patch it up a bit. And oftentimes the spiders eat the web after they've finished with it because it's useful protein. So in a way, you're mashing it up for them, Colin, which is very considerate. It's like you're working in an old people's home and pureeing the food.
Hugo, come here, good boy. Okay, sit. Good boy. All right, roll over. Good boy. All right, answer me this. Come on, Hugo. Answer me this. No, not beg. Answer me this.
I'm sorry, Sue, but this isn't working for me. Can we go back to doing the sexy schoolgirl roleplay instead?
Here is a question from Jack in Nottingham who says, Ollie, answer me this. Why do passwords expire? I get that they're supposed to be more secure.
Good.
If they get changed every 90 days, then the maximum time of cyber terrorists can use your login for is a meagre 89 days. But my council is full of older workers who just put their current password on a post-it note on their screen.
Oh, that'll trick.
This somewhat negates the intended security benefit.
No, it doesn't.
Thank you. It doesn't, does it, Martin?
This man's an idiot.
The point of changing your password, exactly. The point of changing your password isn't to protect it from people who can walk past the post-it on the desk. It's people that are based in completely different countries with computers that can work this sort of thing out.
90 days is not so that they have 89 days to commit fraud. It's so they only have 90 days to crack the password.
Well,
if you have it indefinitely, they can crack it.
Well, are you going to let Jack have his rant?
Oh, sorry.
My bank doesn't ask me to change my password regularly, so why, why am I expected to remember a password from the following logons? Xbox Live, Amazon, 12 applications and email addresses across 2 jobs.
Okay, I think we know how this
Personal
email goes.
emails,
Skip to the
iPlayer,
end.
social media,
Skip to the end.
utility, dating sites, phone, my arse,
Right.
iTunes.
Lots of passwords,
iTunes
yes.
asked me 5 security questions, all of which must be different and are easily known by flatmates, girlfriends, and pretty much anyone I know well
Okay,
enough.
but
they
you're
might
just
miss
being
someone who may have-
anti-password, aren't you? You have to have a system.
Would you rather it was all free and easy, Jack?
I mean, Jack does kind of have a small point, which is that the systems that rely on resetting passwords regularly,
Yeah.
by their very nature, you're more likely to forget them because you reset it every whatever it is. They also tend to be the systems that have the more simplified password prompts. So they're the ones that a hacker could click, I forgot my password, and it'll ask you a really straightforward thing.
What's your name?
Because that's how they got Sarah Palin.
Is it?
Someone hacked into Sarah Palin's email address, and then they said, I forgot my password, and I'm whatever it was, sarahpalin@hotmail.com. And the question was, what school did you attend? And it's like, well, they knew what town she was from in Alaska, so they know what school she's attended.
Yeah, and also Facebook must open up a lot of these things as well. Oh, mother's maiden name.
Yeah, of course.
Probably even first pet, because you get all these people going, my blues name is my first pet, plus this adjective that means in extreme weather.
Whereas if you never change your password, if you always had the same one for 20 years, actually, you don't need to write it down anyway, you don't need to be prompted.
Exactly.
In a way, it is safer. The thing is, you've got a very good tip, which you told me, which I thought was very clever.
It probably wasn't mine, I probably nicked it from someone else, because I hacked into their computer and looked in their file marked tips.
You said that, for example, one thing you can do is your password for the Sainsbury's website, save it on your phone as John Sainsbury.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
This is my mother's technique. For things that you need to remember, like your bank account number.
Yeah.
If it's a 6-digit number, say, save it with half of a familiar phone number. So you look at it and you're like, okay, that's the second half of my phone number. So the other part is the useful bit.
In my file of facts, yes, I still have a file of facts.
You really do.
I choose memorable birthdays of my family to write different passwords down. So I know that if I need to get into my bank account, it's Dad's birthday.
But Jack's not going to like that because I think he wants the abolition of the whole password system.
Yeah, but what does he want?
Retina scanning.
Yeah, exactly. He wants the future. Whereas that's not ready yet, is it? Otherwise we'd be in it.
What if someone steals your fingerprints?
Because there's these things like Passport Wallet, where a computer program learns all your passwords for you so that you don't even know what they are. And when you go onto a website, it puts it in for you.
Why would you trust Password Wallet?
You're just giving a third party all of your passwords,
That
aren't
third
you?
party could be evil.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, here is another question of computation from Daniel from Liverpool, who says, Ollie, answer me this. Windows computers use the drive C for the operating system. So, what were drives A and B for?
Hey, it's a proper nerd's question.
Business in the front, party in the back, isn't it, in the Windows operating system?
They were, believe it or not, they were for floppy disks.
I remember A being a floppy disk drive. And
Tell us
got
all
my
about
first
it,
computer.
Grandad.
Yeah, in that case, your computer wasn't big enough to have a B floppy disk drive.
Your computer had a small vagina.
So it had an A and a C.
Why would you want to have 2 floppy disk drives?
Because if you were running a really powerful computer where you switch between floppy disks to back up information...
I can't imagine that.
So if you needed to back up, you could switch between disk drives. So that's why I had A and B on the more powerful machines.
Wow.
Yeah. Just allowing for the incredible, awesome power of 2 floppy disk drives.
Tyler from Cambridge. Helen and Ollie, answer me this. I'm in Heathrow Airport waiting to go to Sweden, and all I can see around me is so many places selling baggage. Surely in the departures lounge of an airport, this isn't the right place to sell baggage. You've inevitably got some, and it's stuffed in the hull of a plane. Why on earth do they sell baggage in places like this? Isn't it more appropriate to do this in a shopping centre?
It's not the least appropriate place to buy baggage, is it? It's not particularly an appropriate space to sell aftershave, but they're big on that.
Yeah.
It's targeting the market. They know that everyone who's in an airport has probably bought a bag. So you're looking at the bag audience there.
You might want a bag to put in all your new aftershaves.
Yes.
How do you ship baggage then? Like if you buy a big suitcase at one of these shops.
A lot of airports will allow you to ship the luggage home, thus negating the discount you got from buying it in an airport departure lounge.
I mean, the point is that you've got to do something in that 2 hours, and you're going to buy whatever's in front of you, basically.
Yeah.
We bought a kettle last time when we were travelling to Rhodes.
What's the matter with you?
Well, because I've got really into tea since I gave up coffee.
You have, well done.
And I was like, okay, I'm actually going to be a bit upset if we go all the way to Rhodes and there isn't a kettle, because sometimes there isn't.
Most
a kettle
of the time,
in the room.
I'd say.
And actually, it was kind of because this was a nice hotel.
Yeah.
You know that weird paradox of like 3-star hotels and motels always have kettles, but actually like 4- and 5-star hotels, because you can order one on room service, sometimes don't let you make your own tea.
They're embarrassed to be seen with a kettle.
Yeah, and then suddenly it's like €15 every time you want a cup of tea.
And yet, weirdly, posh hotels in Las Vegas have an entire kitchenette. And that doesn't look classy. That's like being in a bedsit.
Anyway, we thought, right, well, we'll bring our own travel kettle. Now's the time to buy a travel kettle, like the luggage.
I'm in my 30s now, comfortably. Yes. I'm the kind of guy that could own a travel kettle.
Yeah.
Maybe next time I'll get a trouser press.
I'll tell you what, you have to shop around, though. Because
well, you've got 2 hours to waste.
Well, yes, but the same kettle, £4 price differential between Boots, Dixon's and the duty free.
Scandal.
Hold on, you haven't heard the incredible punchline.
What happened?
We bought one.
Wow!
That's amazing. That's a brilliant... Oh, sorry.
Wait, there's more. When we got to Rhodes...
Yeah.
There was already a kettle in the hotel room.
Oh, you told me there was more, but I should have been holding on to my chair a bit more firmly.
It's like one of my dad's stories. Then what happened? No, we had a nice baguette.
People always ask one what one does for fun. Well, one enjoys watching Gok 1 and a fish called Wonder. One is also partial to One Direction and The Wanted, and the short-lived Billy Corgan Band's One.
The Answer Me This Jubilee, 1 hour of Her Majesty's pleasure. Available now on iTunes.
It's time for a question now about insults from Brad in Philadelphia. He says, my wife is a university professor.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's right.
She's got tenure.
And part of her job is writing letters of recommendation for students.
Oh, that must be really boring.
Part of my job as husband is proofreading these letters.
Is it? Was that in your wedding vows?
The most recent letter was for one of my wife's all-time favourite students who is applying to a programme in England. My wife decided to inject a little colour at the end of her extremely effusive letter by writing, as the Brits would say, she is the bollocks. All I could think about when I read this was, why is my wife calling this amazing student a testicle?
She's calling the student more than one testicle.
Yeah.
But a pair of testicles, a scrotum.
It's
a full sack.
My wife insisted that the phrase meant one of a kind or very special. I think that's right, isn't it, basically?
Well, very special, yes, or superlative, not really one of a kind, because testicles are very common amongst men.
Mm-hmm. There's probably about 7 billion testicles in the world.
But in the end, I, proofreader husband, convinced her to remove it.
Saboteur.
However, when she asked me for an alternative, I was stuck. The best I could come up with was different class.
That's not necessarily a good thing, is it? Could mean that she was in remedial or something.
So, Helen, can you, A, confirm that she's the bollocks is not a compliment?
I can't confirm that because it is a compliment.
It is. It's all about context, of course.
Yeah.
You much more often say the dog's bollocks.
Yes, which we covered in episode 93, so we won't revise here.
And B, provide an alternative.
Yeah, all right. Bee's knees.
Oh yeah, that's not bad, but that's a bit too sweet.
No, but that's very English, which is what the wife is going for. Misguided, because I think she's gone a bit too slangy, given the context.
I think the equivalent of this is if we wrote to an American university, we put at the bottom of a letter of recommendation about one of our students.
And said they were the shit.
They kick ass.
The important thing to remember when calling someone the bollocks or the shit is the. If you take away the whole gloss of it changes to something quite negative.
Yes.
Other synonyms, top-notch.
It's not as good as she's the bollocks, come on.
Smashing.
That's better,
Tip-top, very English. Top drawer.
Top drawer.
Nuts.
Well, that's the same, Martin.
But there's absolutely no confusion there, as you make a clear reference to the saying rather than accidentally putting she's bollocks at the end. Although she's nuts would be just as bad, I suppose.
Yes.
Why don't you use a delightful American colloquialism like that? Say she's the shiznit.
Must be some very colourful expressions from Philly. Surely.
She's the cheese on the steak. That's probably what they say in Philadelphia.
That's right,
isn't it?
yeah. Oh, yeah, no, that's a brilliant approximation of exactly what they say.
But being called cheese is not necessarily a compliment.
Cheese the bollocks.
Well, if you have a suggestion for what Brad's high-flying wife can call her students to make them sound not only incredible but also delightfully British.
Yeah, and you don't mind upstaging Helen on her own podcast, despite the fact that we've provided many examples you think you can do better.
Yeah,
then,
good luck with that.
Then please, no, we'd like to know.
Yes,
do send us
we're very
those.
interested in you trying to upstage me, aren't we, Ollie? Isn't that what you wanted all along?
Do send us your suggestions. All the details of how you can do that are listed on our website.
AnswerMeThisPodcast.com.
The details of how you can send us rude things are also how you can send us questions, and we thrive on those, so please send some through.
Yeah. If you want more podcasts, you send more questions, and we're all happy.
That's the deal.
Except for people who don't like this podcast, but I don't know why they're listening, particularly at this late stage.
And there's another forthcoming deal, which is Martin's got an album out.
Yeah.
Yeah, new Sound of the Ladies, which is my band's album, and you can pre-order that at thesoundoftheladies.com.
What's it called, Martin?
Oh, it's called The City of Gold and Lead.
Why is it called that, Martin?
It's a reference to the John Christopher novel.
Why?
It's about inequality in the modern city.
So, Luke from Tunbridge Wells and Nadine from Somerset, maybe you could just pop on Martin's newest long player at your wedding instead, and everyone could stand around gazing at their shoes.
And we'll see you next week.
Olé!